What's up, YouTube? Welcome to the NoiZReduction.com YouTube channel. My name is Booker Edwards, and today I'm going to be unboxing the brand new MPC One, the new standalone MPC from my friends at Akai Professional. So Akai's at it again, and they sent me this MPC and asked me to take it through my workflow, get a feel for it, and give them some feedback on it. And I'm really excited and anxious to take it out of the box and do just that. But I thought that I'd do an unboxing video and share with you guys my initial thoughts and impressions of the new MPC One. So let's get to it. So here it is, the new MPC One. It's the new entry-level standalone MPC from Akai. It will be the least expensive standalone in the MPC lineup. So it'll come in at a price point underneath the X and the Live. Of course, the X will still be the flagship. Just from my initial impressions of the box, it looks dope. It looks really exciting. So let's look at the packaging first. The packaging is consistent with the rest of the MPC lineup and even the Akai Force. So there are great photos of the device on the outside of the box, starting with the top, or let me turn it around here, or the front of the box here. You have a front-facing photo of the MPC One. And on the bottom or the back of the box, you have a profile photo of the MPC One. On the side or the top, depending on your perspective, there's a picture of the back with the connections, and I'll get into more detail about these connections once I take it out of the box, and we'll look at all of the different types of connections you have available to you. And on the side of the box, there's a list of the main features. So I'm just going to read off these main features that are on the MPC One. So the first feature is that it's a standalone MPC, so you don't have to have it connected to a computer. It will work completely in and of itself. Has a powerful multi-core system, the same one from the MPC Live and the MPC X. So it has the same processors and internal workings. It's just as powerful as the MPC X and the MPC Live. Check this out. It has 16 velocity and pressure sensitive RGB pads, that's what makes an MPC, right? It's those pads that every other company tries to emulate. So of course it has that. It has a brilliant 7-inch multi-touch display. So it has the same size display as the Live. Okay, so here's where things start to diverge a little bit. It has 2 gigabytes of RAM and 4 gigabytes of onboard storage. And both the Live and the X have 2 gigabytes of RAM also, just like this. But those devices, the Live and the X, have 16 gigabytes of onboard storage. So it's significantly less. You only get about, you get exactly about a quarter of the storage that's on those two devices. And on the X and the Live, on both of those devices, the operating system takes up 4 gigabytes of storage in and of itself. But from what I understand about the One, the operating system is on a hidden flash memory that's inside the device, so it doesn't take up any of the internal storage. I'm pretty sure there's some content installed on there, so that probably takes up some of the storage, but we'll look at that once we take it out of the box. It has a stereo line input and a MIDI input and a MIDI output, of course. Oh, it has 8 CV gate outputs. So this gives you the ability to connect to your analog devices and modular synthesizers and things of that nature. What's exciting about that is that was a feature that was only on the X prior to this. So it has features from the X that are not even on the Live. It can also be a controller, of course, for the MPC software, so that makes it a hybrid device. It can be standalone or work with the software. It has USB 2.0 port, for storage devices and MIDI controllers. So because it only has about 4 gigabytes of internal storage, you're going to need to probably have an external hard drive to save your projects, samples, and programs. And also you can connect MIDI keyboards when you're working in standalone. And it has SD card slots, so another way to manage your media and store your programs and samples and things. So let's open it up and take a look at what's inside. Get my box cutter here. There we go. So when we first open it up, the first thing you see is the overview poster. And this poster just gives you information about all the knobs, buttons, and pads, and a picture of the back. It's nice to have. You see this inside of all the MPC packaging, and then it talks about the touch screen, XY effects, audio tracks, grid view. So it's a kind of a quick start guide too, if you will. I'm gonna put this to the side for right now. We'll open this up in a second. So we have the AC cord, and I'm assuming over here the AC has two parts, the power pack and the AC cord. USB cord here. That's interesting. So this has, well, I'll come back to that in a second. Let's get it all unwrapped here. I just want to take it out, touch it, and feel it and see what it feels like. So where's the top? So this is the top. Let me move my box out of the way here. I'm really careful when opening up all my devices because I like to keep the packaging just in case. I have boxes for everything that I've ever owned in the studio. My wife hates it, but I don't know. Oh, man. Look at that. That's pretty dope. I'm going to plug it up in a second, so I'll come back to that. Let's just look at all the stuff that came inside of it. So first we have the AC, the cord. So this is the power cord. It has some type of different connection on here. I'm assuming it has a connection in this box that will allow me to plug in here in the United States, here in Atlanta specifically. Atlanta plugs are the same as everywhere else in the United States, by the way. What's in here? So this is usually, all the power adapters for the MPCs usually have a brick that you plug the AC cord in. And so, yep, that's that. Put that over there. And then we have the USB cable. Now, cut this open. The USB cable is different than the one for the X and the Live. This is a USB 2A to USB B cable. And I have my USB cable for my Live and my X here, and that uses a USB 3.0 Type B to USB 2. Well, this is actually a USB-C. This cable I brought so I could connect my MPC Live and X to my MacBook Pro that has the USB-C connection on it. But this is a different connection than what we see here for the new MPC One. It has the kind of more traditional, what you see on pretty much all your MIDI controllers and things. MIDI keyboard controllers. So that's different. Put that back over there. Then of course, in here, let's see. Got a lot of stuff in here. So this is the software package download instructions. So you basically just go to akaipro.com/MPC download, and that's where you can get your software from. So you need to hold on to that. This is your safety and warranty instructions here. And of course, the quick start guide that gets you right up and started with the MPC. So let's power it on, and then I'll look at all the buttons and stuff. So I'm gonna cut to plugging it in, and I'll come right back. So now that I have it out of the box and I have it plugged in, let's power it up and see what happens. Oh, it has a different splash screen than on the X and the Live, so that's new. Loading up. Okay, so there's definitely content on that internal storage because there's templates here. I'll come back to the templates, but just the screen is brilliant. The clarity is beautiful. One of the first things that I think that stands out most to me is the biggest difference between this and my MPC Live and my X is the size of the pads. So these have smaller pads than you'll find on the X or the Live. These look more like the pads from maybe the MPK line, the keyboard controller that has the smaller MPC pads. They feel great. They feel like MPC pads, but they're definitely smaller pads. My fingers are relatively small, so it doesn't bother me, and I'm not like a finger drummer. So I do more just, programming and producing in that way. Another thing, just on the build quality, something that's different than on the Live, which this is cheaper than the top of this is it's a metal top, so it has the material that's on the top surface feels like the MPC X, not the MPC Live, and it has a lot of buttons from the MPC X. So on the MPC Live, I have my MPC Live here, so let's do a quick comparison. So first of all, you can kind of see the difference in size. The MPC Live is wider, if you will, and but not quite as tall. But these are the standard MPC pads that are on the MPC Live, MPC X, and pretty much every other standalone MPC ever made. So these pads are definitely smaller. But notice on the MPC Live, you have to do a lot of things via the touch screen because there's not a lot of real estate here for a lot of buttons. So you have a transport, you have your pad banks and a couple of buttons here and your Q-Link knobs, but you don't have a lot of buttons to give you access to things like your sample editor and things of that nature. But on the MPC One, that's really cool. You do have that. So over here on this left side, you have, of course, your 4-level, half level. You have your 16-level notes, copy, delete, erase, note, repeat. So that's kind of the same things that's on the Live. But then when you get over here to this side, first you have your Q-Link knobs. You have your banks to bank you through to 16 Q-Link knobs. You have your banks to get through your pad banks. So you have bank A, bank B, bank C, bank D, double touch, and you're in bank E, F, G, and H. Here's the main screen button, the browse button. But then here's where it's different from the Live. You have a track mix, or if you hold shift, it's pad mix. You have track mute, shift will give you pad mute. Next sequence, shift will give you the X, Y effects parameters. You have your menu and preferences, right here, tap tempo is available on the live also. You have your shift key to allow you to access the secondary functions of the buttons. Undo, redo. You have your data dial and your minus and plus keys for the data dial. You can access your step sequencer or automation right here from a button, a dedicated button right on the top. Time correction, on and off. Your sampler, your looper, your sample edit, your Q-Link edit, your program edit, and your MIDI controls, all from tactile buttons right here. I really like that. One of the things I enjoy about my X is the fact that it has all of those dedicated buttons to get you in and out of things, and you don't always have to use the TUI or the touch screen. And then you have basically the same transport, not the same buttons as the transport that's on the live, but the same record, overdub, stop, play, and play start. If we look at the side of it, it looks a lot like the side of the live. Get my live back over here again. So you see the side of the live. So it feels the same as the live on the sides. It's about the same thickness, I think. And let's look at the buttons that are, well, the ports that are on the back of it. Let's do it this way. You have your master volume here. You have your main outputs, left and right. Your stereo input, your record level. Here's the CV gates. It has one MIDI input and one MIDI output. So on the live, I think you have two MIDI inputs and two MIDI outputs, and of course more on the X. You have the ability to lock it down to a desk. Here's the USB port, which is a different USB connection than it's on the live and the X. And here's the USB port, USB 2.0 port for external hard drives or MIDI keyboard controllers that you may want to connect to it. This link thing is different. I haven't seen that before, so I have to figure out what that does. That's not on the X or the live. And then you have your AC plug and your power button. And let's get it around and look at the front of it. And on the front, you have your SD card slot and your 1/8" headphone jack. Cool. Let's get it back here. So I must have went into a demo. Let's go back out and choose a demo that I want. So I'm going to, let's go here to the folder, go to new, get back to my templates page. Since I'm in Atlanta, I gotta choose either trap or trap soul, right? Let's choose trap soul, and I'm gonna connect my audio, my output, so you guys can hear it. Okay. And let me put on some headphones so I can hear it. Okay, let's see how much of the space is taken up by this content. So I'll go here and look at the system resources. So over here under drive, it looks like about half of the drive is taken up, and I'm assuming that's the content that's on it. So it's about 2 gigabytes of data on there. 2 gigabytes of content comes with it, samples, programs, sequences. And if I go to my browser, let's see here, and let's go, here's drums under program. So all of these programs, let's audition some of them. Turn that off. just scroll down so we can see how many programs, just programs upon programs. So there's a lot of content in here. It's of course, it's not 10 gigabytes of content like you'll find on your MPC Live or your MPCX, but about 2 gigabytes that come with it. And you have the ability to connect for external storage, to connect other devices and other content that you want to bring in. One thing that I want to make sure I make note of is that there is no bay for another internal drive to be connected to it. So you can't add a drive like a SSD drive like you can on the Live or the X for more storage. So that's not an option on the One. So what are my initial impressions? Well, if you're interested in getting into an MPC and you don't want to spend over $2,000 for the X, you don't want to spend over $1,000 for the Live, I think this is a great platform to get you into the MPC family with the standalone unit. And for the price point that this is going to come in at, you're not going to find anything else on the market that's going to give you standalone features for production and allow you connectivity to the MPC software for your creation inside of the computer. The build quality on this, I think, is awesome. It feels well put together. The touchscreen is beautiful. Of course, now, if you're not spending as much as you would on the Live or the X, there are going to be some things that you're not going to get that you get on the Live or the X. And one of those is the size of the pads. So, you know, if you have to have the big girthy pads and the traditional standard size MPC pads that you found on the X and the Live, then maybe the One isn't for you and you want to spend a little bit more money and go ahead and get you the Live. Also, you have to keep in mind that there is limited amount of onboard storage. So you're going to have to invest in some SD cards or maybe some external USB hard drives to connect to the back of the device so you can save your projects. That's one of the biggest things I think you need to keep in mind. I have to be completely upfront with you guys. I've been an MPC user since the 90s. I still own over 10 MPCs. My second MPC I ever purchased is right here. So, you know, I've been into this device, invested into this company for a long time. So I'm telling you that because maybe I'm a little biased, but I love the MPC product. It just makes sense to me. It works for me. And it has for years. I produced a lot of records with it. And this MPC One is still an MPC. So if you're used to the MPC and you're used to the workflow, you will understand this. This will be very comfortable and familiar with you. If you're interested in getting into the MPC line of production and you don't want to spend over $2,000 or $1,000, like I said, this is your way in. So I guess my main impression is that this is still an MPC. I think it's an excellent opportunity to bring more people into the MPC fold, and the more the merrier, I think.